David, the Foundation for Arable Research, how does it work? What's your role?
Our role is the research and development arm for arable farming. So we're a levy-based organisation, and our role is to use those levies to work on the research which growers want done in the area of arable farming.
So you listen to people and find solutions?
So yeah, the people we listen to are our levy payers, which are the farmers. So we have a number of arable research groups around the country, and those farmers feed the information back to us as to where the research needs to be done and developed. And from there we get that research done and then do the extension back to them.
R&D in an industry which has, with all due respect, got its back against the wall at times must be majorly important.
Yeah, it is. It's very important. One thing we can't influence is prices, but we can influence obviously the yields we can get as well as the input costs in the system. So knowing those input costs and getting high yields are the ways we can get around these lower prices we're seeing at the moment. But there's also new things around such as environmental issues and sustainability, which we need to be working on as well.
Do you get in amongst that lot? Because that's a can of worms.
It's a hot topic at the moment, I guess, but the arable system is actually very lucky in that its systems are very sustainable, and because we're able to match plant demands and the crop uptake as well. So we're probably one of the sectors that are in a box seat there as far as environmental concerns.
As far as environmental concerns as well as product concerns, your guys must have a lot of questions and want you to do a lot of things.
We do. There's about 40 crops which the levy covers, and so there's a lot of research across those 40 crops. So one of the big challenges is working out which is the prioritisation of those researchers and where that money should be spent. So that is one of the big challenges.
How do you respond to the recent reviews?
The reviews have been great. So we went out to our growers and said, what are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? And there was a number of things. Generally everything was going right, but there are some areas which we can improve on, as any business can improve on in certain areas. So
this is you going to your members or going to your levy payers and saying, what are we doing right and what are we doing wrong?
And probably most importantly, what are we doing wrong? You know, we know that most of the things we're doing right, we understand them because we can see the results from the research, but it's areas where we need to be putting more emphasis, which is really important.
How do you prioritise what you're going to be doing, what crops you're going to be doing the research on?
A little bit, it depends on where the money comes from. So obviously we try to match levy take for different crops to those research for those crops, but also where the demand is. So at the moment there's a lot of demand on environmental, so we've added extra staff into that area to cover the demand off, because that out of the review, the environmental compliance was the #1 area of concern for growers.
I guess one of your sort of obvious sites is at Chertsey. How important are those field days to you?
They're very important. Chertsey is a pretty local, central Canterbury area. We've also got a new site at Lincoln just beside the university, which is going to be used by students as well as the industry. So that's a second site in Canterbury that we've got, and also we've got our site at Waikato, just out of Hamilton.
You don't sort of think of the Waikato being an arable research area, but of course you've got maize and you've got all sorts of things up there.
So one of our biggest crops is maize, and obviously the North Island maize is the main crop up in that area, and that is one of the key crops for New Zealand's agriculture, particularly in the North Island. So making sure that we are servicing the North Island and the maize industry is vitally important.
David, if you get a new fashion, for the want of a better term, like for example you've suddenly got fodder beet, do you have to roll with the times?
We do have to work with the times, but we also got to make sure that we are getting an income levy from those crops. So at the moment we don't get an income levy from forage crops, but we have done some work in that area because that's what the demand from growers have said. We want to know information in that area.
So once again you've got 2 ears for listening and 1 for talking.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it, right?
Yeah, because I mean you listen twice as much as you actually talk about.
Yeah.
But
new crops, we're just working with Central Plains Water at the moment on a project called Future Foods, and that's looking at what could be the new foods we're producing or crops we're growing in Canterbury in the next, or in New Zealand in the next 5 to 10 years.
You've got a referendum coming up?
Yep, so because we're a commodity levy order, we every 5 to 6 years we need to go back to our levy payers and they vote on whether they want to continue with the levy. So that's coming up in August this year, and yeah, we want to make sure we don't have complacency amongst the growers. We want them to get out and vote and have a good return for the vote.
Well, editorialising, they'll be very foolish not to keep going.
We'd hope so, yeah.
And you've also got a seminar coming up.
Yeah, so
Conference.
every 2 years we have a main conference, and this year's conference is on the 29th and 30th of June, and it's being held at Lincoln University. So registrations for those are open at the moment at the FAR office and also on our website.
Important times for you guys.
I think it's always important times, Rob. We need to be trying to front foot the issues which we're facing, and it's a tough one. You never know what's coming around the corner, but I think that's one of our roles, is to make sure we're ahead of the game. And I think so far we have been. And
as an observer, David, you've got nothing to worry about. You're well ahead of it. So thank you very much indeed. And on the Land program and our website, and of course all our social media, you'll be able to get some updates on what FAR are in fact up to over the next few weeks. But as we said, I don't think it's a hard decision. I think get out and vote and slam your future into the right area.